The ego is a person's sense of self. It's the perception of your identity. It's how you perceive your identity. The ego is a person's sense of self. It's their perception of their identity. An example of that is, it's basically like how important you think of yourself. I can give a quick example. Like, an example of the ego is like, say that you have like siblings, or like you live in a house and there's only one bathroom and you're doing whatever you're doing in there and it's taking you like multiple hours, like 3 hours, and somebody knocks on the door to let you know they need to get in the bathroom, and you like have an attitude about it and you just do not understand why they would need to use the restroom or why you should care, because you perceive your time and what you need the bathroom for as more important than what they could ever need the bathroom for. You feel like you using the bathroom is more important than them using the bathroom. You have that sense of importance compared to like somebody else. That's like how you are perceiving yourself. That's an example of like the ego. Just an example. These are some of the things that fall under ego. So separateness, judgment, hostility, fear, anger, pride, resentment, jealousy, things of that nature. Constantly competing with somebody or wanting to be like better than another person. That's also like the ego, just another example. The ego is not a bad thing at all. Those examples that I was given about like the resentment and all that, those are some traits just as far as like to help identify what I mean by that. And that's also what the bathroom example was for, just to help get an understanding or like more of a grasp, because I feel like some people don't exactly understand what it is maybe. Another thing though, when someone has a strong ego, or like, strong ego, it's like they have a strong sense of self. And so basically their identity isn't something that is very like, that can be like moved or like changed. They know who they are. These are the people that's like, if they're in a certain type of environment, whatever's going on, they're not easily influenced by whatever's happening around them, versus like somebody who maybe has a weak ego, whatever, they're easily moved into those other types of environments. Like, they are very vulnerable. If we didn't have an ego, we wouldn't have an identity. That thing about like ego death, basically to me, how I interpret that is like, okay, you're this way, and as you go on your journey, the identity that you had before, whenever you shed that identity, that ego is dying, because it is no longer something that exists. That version of yourself no longer exists, and now there is a new identity. There's a new ego that comes about for you to, learn about and step into. Another great example is like, say if you are the type of person that just feels like you cannot learn anything from anybody younger than you, or that's how you think because like maybe you're older in age, so that means that you have to know everything and that you cannot possibly like learn something new from another person in general, even outside of like age. To not allow your ego to control you, that would be the perfect opportunity to actually just listen to what the person has to say, because like going throughout this life and like on whatever journey that you're on, it's like you will find out you can learn anything from like all different types of people, you know what I mean? Even people that happen to be younger than you. It's like, it's very strange. Even sometimes, this sounds weird, but like even like a child's perspective sometimes, it's just one of those things, like even if you don't even agree with what they're saying, just allowing yourself to even sit there and listen to them is a way to make that a habit of like not letting your ego control you, saying like you know everything, what you have to say is more important than the next person. There's no way that they could possibly ever teach you anything, or just what they have to say isn't important. Same thing can be said about people that's younger. Like if you have that perspective like, oh, this person's like older than me, they don't see this perspective, like even though they were my age, this is a different generation. It's like overall it's just a matter of putting your ego aside to allow yourself to be open-minded enough to sit and listen to someone, whether you agree with it or not. And in those certain types of situations where you're just having that understanding that this other human being also has something to contribute And it's also a lot less like stressful, I feel like, too. There's a lot of benefits to just allowing yourself to just be open enough to hear someone.